Hello. This week, our prayer points is talking about being ready for the Lord's return. The text for these prayer points is found in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 16 through 17. It says there that we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and thus we shall always be with the Lord. That's 1 Thessalonians 4 and 17. In that there is a promise, and that promise is found in where it says we shall. God shall return for His people. There will be a rapture of the church. But brothers, the question is, are we ready? Are we living a life that is prepared for that time? Many people always say, no man knows the day nor the hour. But that is no excuse. That is no excuse to not be prepared. I want to share with you a couple verses of scripture today. In 2 Peter chapter 3, in verse 10, it says there, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night." I have a story to share with you that goes along with that verse of scripture. As you can see behind me, I got my truck, got my camper and my tailgate open. A few years back, my brother-in-law and I were doing some commercial work, and we was putting in long hours to get these jobs done. And we was using two pieces of equipment. They were both airless sprayers. And the job was that big that each one of us had to take our own piece of equipment to get the job done on time. And I remember one night it was getting real late, and it was right around sundown like it is now. And I took the two airless sprayers in my toolbox and I laid it right in the back of my truck. I went home for the evening, and the next morning I got up real early. We was leaving about 5:30 a.m. I come out to my truck that morning while it was still dark, and I found my truck like you see it now. The camper window was open, the tailgate was down, everything was a mess, and both of the airless sprayers and my toolbox was gone. And I stood for a moment in shock, and I just couldn't believe it. I was rubbing my head. What's going on here? What happened? I've been robbed. And it never sunk in. It took me a few minutes of looking at the truck and looking at the ground and realizing that both of the airless sprayers, both of the pieces of equipment that was needed to do the job, had been stolen through the night. Well, then my mind started racing, and I started beating myself up, and I started thinking, why didn't I lock the airless sprayers in? I always locked them every evening. Why didn't I do it that evening? I always locked the camper windows. Why didn't I lock the camper that night? And I started beating myself up. If I only had have locked everything down, nothing would have been stolen. Well, brothers, that goes along with a scripture that's found in Matthew 24, verse 43. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would have not suffered his house to be broken into. Brothers, if I had known, I'd have never have let my machinery be stolen. But I didn't know. I didn't know when the thief was going to come. Much in the same ways, brother, we will never know when the Lord is going to return. It could be right now as this video is being filmed, or it could be when all of us is dead and buried sometime in the far future. But that is no excuse why we should not be prepared. My brothers, as we look to this week's prayer points, being ready for the Lord's return, let's remember this, that there is a promise. Someday He will return, and I pray that we will all be ready. Have a great day, and God bless.